Well, good morning and welcome to session 2 of our South West and Southern Wales 4-district multi-district PEDS. We've got an exciting morning ahead of us, and the facilitators and team tell me in our review last night that a really good evening was had, very highly participative, and numbers held up, so that's brilliant. We're already building up numbers, 124 so far, and they're still coming in to queuing up to come in. Two brief reminders before we go into breakouts for our first session today. Speakers, we will be having a very important speaker later on that DGE Jim will tell you about shortly, and that's one that will be taking some questions. So please remember to enter any questions in the personal chat to the attendee that's labelled questions, and you'll see that's questions, and that's AKA Chris Davies. And she will then take those questions and position them to our speakers at the appropriate times. Hands up for questions will be ignored. Please, we must have them through that single route to make it easier there. Secondly, when you go into your breakout rooms, you'll be with different people today. So the way we hope it's going to work is for the first 2 breakouts, we'll have a new selection for you. And then the second 2 breakouts, another new selection of people to mingle with in those sessions. So thanks for that. Also, finally, just if you could, please select the 3 little dots at the top right-hand corner of your video screen, your own video image, and use the rename option to add your club name behind your own personal name. We don't really want any screens that are labelled Wendy's iPad or something like that, because we don't really know who Wendy iPad is. Okay, so if you could make that little change as well, that'd be brilliant. So I now welcome DGE Jim Currie to tell you a little bit more about this morning's sessions before we go into our first breakout. Jim, over to you. You're on mute.
Right. Yep. Thank you very much, Dennis. And thanks to all of you for giving up your Saturday morning. So let's really make this worth our while. We've got a very busy and I think stimulating morning. In sort of football or rugby parlance, perhaps I shouldn't be mentioning rugby this morning, but commiserations to all my Welsh friends. But it's really like the game of 2 halves. So I'm going to host the first half of the game, and then the second half is going to be hosted by my friend Rick Canham from District 1200. So we're going to start with 2 breakout sessions this morning. But don't leave, for goodness sake, don't leave whatever you do, because as Denis hinted, we're going to have a great speaker, Gordon McInally, and you won't want to miss that, I promise you. So please stay with us. So let's get cracking. The first of our 2 sessions this morning is all about membership, and we're going to be looking at membership from 2 different angles. The first is, how do we engage our members? And yes, engagement is very much about retention. I've probably got my figures wrong here, but I think I heard quite recently, it's something that I was on, that something like these days, 50% of people who join Rotary leave within 3 years. Anyway, it was a pretty high proportion. So we know that holding on to our members is really something that we still got to further improve upon. But it's also about more than simply retention. Engagement is also about, how do our members feel with their experience? How do they welcome do they feel? How involved do they feel? And how do they feel that they're making their contribution in the way that they want to make it? So it's that bigger topic that we'd like you to open your minds to and consider this morning. And after that, we're going to put the spotlight on how we attract new members. And once again, yes, it is about the methods and the ways that we go about securing new members, but it's also about whether or not we're offering a product that's attractive to people. It's no point spending energy and resources, time, going out trying to sell a product that nobody really finds attractive. So again, it's opening our minds to that broader dimension. So with those perspectives, let's get straight into it. Let's get us all really getting the old juices going this morning and engaging in discussion with each other. And let's start the breakouts.
Thank you, Jim. So one final little thing, if you are home alone, please remember to put a contact name and number in chat so that we can make contact should someone be taken ill. So thanks, Jim, for that. Let's head off then for the first breakout sessions, and we'll return after 40 minutes when we'll have a 10-minute break for you to top your tea. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, looks like we're getting to the point where the final breakouts have emptied. So I hope you found that one useful. Really important topic that, and as was said earlier on by Jim, the next one is equally important in terms of attracting new members as well as engaging the current ones. So we're going to take a 10-minute break now. There'll be a timer up on the screen in a few moments. Don't log off, leave it there, keep an eye on the countdown, and we'll start again in 10 minutes. Good morning again, everybody, and welcome back. And hope you're suitably refreshed and ready with topped up coffee, etc., ready for the next one. Okay, so we're going to go straight into the next breakout session, which is not to be confused with making your present members more attractive. This is about attracting new members. A really, really important topic for everybody, of course, in the current time. So, tech team, if we can go back into the breakouts for the next 40 minutes. Following this, we'll be hearing from Gordon McInally, and Jim Currie will be introducing him. So prepare yourselves for that. It's going to be a fantastic presentation. So into the rooms, please, Wendy. Thank you very much, everyone.
Welcome back, everybody. We're making some really good progress through the topics. Certainly in our particular discussion, we had some very, very good ideas, getting back, reconnecting with the community, linking up with other volunteering organizations, the use of friends, for example, not forgetting about the importance still of personal invitations, and of course, still referrals. Remember, our current president talks about each one, bring one. So lots of good ideas, but thanks very much to all of you for your contributions. You can sit back now and really listen and have, I'm sure you're going to have a very stimulating listen to our speaker. Before I introduce Gordon, may I just remind you about the protocol for asking questions. It's only via the personal chat to questions. So that's the way to do it, not by putting your hand up or anything of that kind. So if you could follow that procedure, that would be very much appreciated. So, well, one of the great benefits of having these particular sessions in this way through Zoom is the fact that we can attract really, really great speakers, and they can come from all over the world. And so this is where we really benefit this morning, that we've been very, very lucky that we've got our Rotary International President-elect, Gordon McInally, who's joining us this morning. And Gordon will therefore be the Rotary International President in 2023/24. And most wonderfully, he's one of our homegrown people. In fact, I know that he comes from a little place called South Queensferry, which many of you may not know, but it's a small town west of Edinburgh and located right next to the Forth Bridge. So that's him. But I can tell you, he's not actually coming from there today. He's a bit of a globetrotter, obviously, in his new roles, and he's currently joining us this morning from Mississippi. And the time there, as he'll tell you, is 4:35 a.m. Yeah. So let me hand over to Gordon. So thank you, Gordon. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. And yes, good morning, everybody. It really is a pleasure to be with you. As Jim has said, I'm here in Mississippi, where I'm in the middle of 5 multi-district PEDS events that I'm attending in the States this month. And it really is a privilege to be with you. At least I think it's a privilege to be with you, given the fact as I glance at the watch, it's now 4:40 a.m. here. Now, obviously, I'm sure we would all much rather have been together in person. As that well-known maxim says, we are where we are. So in addition to thanking you for your general welcome, can I also thank you, Jim, for that fulsome introduction? You really are much too kind. And I have to say that even 5 months into the gig, there is still a certain skill quality about being introduced as the president nominee of Rotary International. I don't know if any of you remember a film starring my fellow Scot, Robbie Coltrane, a few years back. Robbie Coltrane, who'd probably be better known to you as Hagrid from the Harry Potter films, was a local priest in a small village in the north of Italy, when by some slip of a pen at a papal conclave in the Vatican, he was made Pope. And I confess, over the past few months in the wee small hours of the morning, I've often wondered if a similar slip of the pen might have taken place in Evanston last August at the nominating committee for RI President. Now, in the event, there was a happy ending to the film, as Robbie Coltrane made quite a good job of being Pope. And my hope is there's a similar happy ending to my story, and I can make a decent job of being RI President. I guess we'll know the answer to that question in 2.5 years' time. I come to think of it, we might know the answer to that question in the next 20 minutes. I must say it's a particular privilege today to be speaking to such a large group of incoming Rotary club leaders, because with the greatest respect to all of Rotary's leadership, I believe it's the Rotary club leaders who are the most important, because it's within the clubs the work of Rotary is done. As I've been saying in many places over the past few months, clubs are our bedrock. You're going to have a lot of opportunities during these PET sessions, and you've already started last night, of course, and on other occasions in the lead up to the 1st of July, to become the very best leaders you can be, and to share with and to learn from one another, to ensure you make your clubs the very best clubs they can be. And of course, by being the best leader you can be, you'll inspire others to follow you in leadership. And by making your clubs the best clubs they can be, you'll inspire others to join Rotary, giving them the opportunities we have all enjoyed, and allowing Rotary to do even more service at a time when there has possibly never been more need for Rotary and for what it stands for. As I prepared for today's event, I realised it was 31 years ago I was attending PETS in my own district in the south of Scotland, preparing to serve as club president as a fresh-faced 33-year-old dentist who wanted to change the world. Rotary had its challenges even then, but these were days when change was resisted, and I found it very hard to change the way the Rotary Club of which I was a member thought or operated, despite my relatively youthful enthusiasm and optimism. I still remember the deathly silence as I brought my first address to the club as its new president to a rousing conclusion and unfurled a banner that had been made by my then 7- and 5-year-old daughters, Sarah and Rebecca, that said, "Just do it." Well, the Rotary Club of South Queensferry wasn't quite ready to just do it back then. And I think at that moment, the members were wondering just exactly what they were getting as a president. For them, it was very much a case of steady as she goes. And they didn't want their particular Rotary boat rocked too much. So that's why I envy you and the fact that you are going to be lucky enough to be leading at a time when everyone is, or at any rate, everyone should be, ready to embrace change. And embrace change we must, because without change, the future of Rotary could be bleak. Change can be daunting, but it can also be exciting and it can be energizing. So embrace it, thrive on it, make it happen, because it must happen, and it must happen now before it's too late. The phrase "build back better" has been used by many of the world's governments recently to describe how things might look in a post-pandemic world. In fact, I think next to "you're on mute" is probably one of the most commonly used phrases we've heard during the past 2 years. But as far as Rotary is concerned, it shouldn't be a question of building back better, but rather of building forward better. Building back implies a return to the way things were. I don't see that as an option. We need to learn from our collective experiences over the last 2 years and take Rotary forward as we establish a new normal. It would be a tragedy if we don't learn from the last 24 months, a tragedy and a travesty. I don't need to remind you that over 6 million people worldwide have died from coronavirus. These people were mothers, they were fathers, they were husbands, they were wives, they were brothers, they were sisters. Many were our fellow Rotarians. Surely there must be a better legacy for each and every one of them than for us simply to go back to doing things the way we were before this all happened. This pandemic has given us a unique chance to draw a line in the sand and review our entire method of operating. And I firmly believe that as we navigate out of it, there are many, many ways we can change for the better and strengthen our clubs, strengthen that bedrock. And of course, that's where you come in. We've got what is probably a one-off chance just now to engage with those who, during the pandemic, have embraced the concept of volunteer service and have them join us to allow them to continue giving service. We're fortunate that there is now so much opportunity to look at club models that don't need to be bound by style of meeting, by geography, or by suitability of a venue. In addition to helping us re-engage with our existing members in a post-pandemic world, this will also allow us to engage with a whole new and different audience. An audience that maybe doesn't want to meet every week. An audience that maybe doesn't want to have a meal. An audience that maybe doesn't want to meet face-to-face at all, but which would rather meet in a manner which suits them. An audience that wants to do things and be people of action rather than just meet for the sake of meeting. I see Rotary clubs, groups, call them what you will, existing everywhere in a style to suit everyone who has the desire to be a part of us and help us fulfill our mission in the world. And that's why I envy you, as you have the power to use that flexibility available to grow Rotary in your clubs and in your neighbourhoods, and in doing so, give ever more service to those who need us. It's all about caring. We need to care for our members, existing and new, because how can we care for the world if we don't care for one another? One special opportunity I would dearly like us to take in the post-pandemic world is the opportunity to work better together. I've always been a great advocate of continuity in Rotary. I've tried to practice it at every level of Rotary leadership, be it at club, district, or Rotary Great Britain and Ireland. I believe strongly in the concept of Rotary's years, plural, where there is a seamless transition between leaders, rather than the concept of my year, singular, where one individual takes us in one direction, only for other individuals to take us in different directions, before we often end up back where we started, where individuals won't embark on an initiative that doesn't complete in their year, because they're worried they won't get the credit for it. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the American 19th century philosopher, said, "There is no limit to what can be achieved if it doesn't matter who gets the credit." and I agree with him 100%. I'm not bothered who gets credit for something, as long as that something is worthwhile and done properly. Accordingly, I'm already working with President-elect Jennifer Jones, and I look forward to doing so with my successor whenever he or she is identified, in a true spirit of continuity that sees Rotary move forward on a straight and steady course towards an ever better future. And I would urge you to do exactly the same in your Rotary clubs. Of course, as far as continuity is concerned, we could have no better tool in our toolbox than Rotary's action plan, our strategic plan, which gives us the opportunity to look longer term and achieve the vision of Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation by setting out the 4 priorities to direct our work, namely increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance participant engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. I know you'll be talking more about strategic planning in the course of your PEDS, so I won't dwell on it now, but I cannot stress highly enough the value of strategic planning as you build forward better in your clubs. Friends, and I do hope I'm not being overly presumptuous in using that term, so my time is limited, but I hope you will indulge me if I go slightly off-piste for a minute or two and say something about a topic that has been an important part of continuity within Rotary for many years, and something that is in our very DNA, and that is the subject of peace building. I'm sure, like me, you have been horrified by the terrible news coming out of Eastern Europe recently regarding the invasion of Ukraine and the ramifications of such an outrage. What has society become that sees frightened, defenseless children cowering in dark, dank corners of Kyiv subway stations while the horrors of war play out above them? How broken is our world that a children's and maternity hospital can see bombs rain down on it from the sky with the loss of so many innocent lives, as we saw only days ago in Mariupol. Peace is such a fragile community. We live in a time of unprecedented technological advances, but sadly, we also live in a time of destruction and human suffering too. Rotary, with all its global reach, must help the world live together in peace and in friendship and in love if we're to leave a proper legacy for our children and our children's children. Humanity that's grown up scientifically and technologically now needs to grow up even more by pointing the whole human race beyond the petty divisions of nepotism, race, and creed. Too many people in this world have experienced the atrocities of war and terrorism. But thankfully, we are committed to working for peace. And never forget, peace is more, much more, than the absence of war or armed conflict. Peace is freedom. Peace is healthy children and adults. Peace is clean water and sufficient food. Peace is education, human rights, dignity, clothing, housing, and concern for mankind. But most of all, peace is love. The late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, and I quote, "We must discover the power of love, the redemptive power of love. And when we discover that, we will be able to make of this old world a new world. For love is the only way." There is power in love. Don't underestimate it. Don't over-sentimentalize it, but there is power in love. Power in love to help and heal where nothing else can. Power in love to lift up and liberate where nothing else will. Power in love to show us the way to live. And if you don't believe me, just stop and to use a word we're hearing rather a lot of in Rotary just now, imagine. Imagine a world where love is the way. Imagine homes and families where love is the way. Imagine neighbourhoods and communities where love is the way. Imagine businesses and commerce where love is the way. Imagine governments and nations where love is the way. Where love is the way, then no child will go to bed hungry in this world ever again. When love is the way, justice will flow like a river. Where love is the way, poverty will become history. And where love is the way, there is room, plenty room, for everyone. Because where love is the way, where peace is the way, we actually treat each other like we're family. And what better aspirations could we as Rotarians have? What greater hope could we as Rotarians give to the world than a sense of love and peace and family? As I've travelled around on a virtual basis over the past few months, I've often quoted the late US Senator Robert Kennedy, and I make no apologies for doing again this morning. Kennedy, whilst addressing the University of Cape Town in South Africa in June 1966, said, and I quote, "Like it or not, we live in interesting times. They are times of danger and uncertainty, but they are also the most creative of any time in the history of mankind. And everyone here will ultimately be judged, will ultimately judge themselves on the effort they've contributed to building a new world society and the extent to which their ideals and goals have shaped that effort." End quote. 56 years on from Kennedy's address, in these current times of danger and uncertainty, let us recognise they are also among the most creative of any time in the history of Rotary. Let us make sure we are judged on the effort we have contributed to rebuild our broken world and the extent our combined ideals and goals have shaped that effort as we imagine and then create a more peaceful world, utilising all the many tools in our Rotary toolbox. I close by returning to my two daughters. When Sarah and Rebecca were young, they used to measure the time until major events in their lives by sleeps. It was never a week until Christmas, it was 7 sleeps. It was never 2 weeks until school term ended, it was 14 sleeps. So don't be surprised, don't be frightened when I tell you that there are 111 sleeps left until the 1st of July and the new Rotary year. I'm anxious that during next Rotary year, Rotary in your clubs, Rotary in districts 1100, 1110, 1175 and 1200, and for that matter, Rotary throughout the whole world, should have its best year ever. But I don't say that for the sake of President-elect Jennifer Jones. Neither do I say that for the sake of District Governors-elect Jim or Wayne or Roger or Rick. And with the greatest respect, I don't even say that for any one of your sakes. No, the reason I want next year to be Rotary's best ever is that by being so, when we have all looked back on the 30th of June 2023 at the projects we have carried out, at the causes we have championed, at the people we have served, at how we have imagined Rotary, at the peace we have built, we will do so in the knowledge that we've done our best for the sake of the people who needed us most. We'll do so in the knowledge that we have improved their lives and in doing so have made the world a better place. Please grasp the opportunity you've been given to lead in your clubs. Be brave, be strong as you imagine Rotary, and above all, enjoy doing it. Thank you once again for this opportunity to meet and to speak with you. Thank you for all you do for Rotary. I wish you every success during the years ahead. I look forward to working alongside you. Each and every one of you is a credit to the badge you wear. And I am proud, very proud, to belong to the same organisation as you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gordon. Inspiring as always. When you said you hoped that you wouldn't mind talking about the Ukraine situation, far from the people here minding about it, the questions immediately became alive and people were asking what we could do. And that resonated so well with what you were saying, is that we want to live in peace. Could you please just tell us what the relationship you have at the moment with the Rotarians in Russia, and how they are being held and looked after at this time of conflict?
Yeah, well, personally, I'm not having any direct contact with Rotarians in Russia. Significantly, we're not hearing a great deal from the Rotarians in Russia, and it's something that John Huko, who, as you know, is Ukrainian himself, originally from the Rotary Club of Kyiv, is working very hard to try and establish contact with the Rotarians in Russia, because we don't know, frankly, where they stand. You know, the fear is that they're being silenced, they're not being allowed to communicate how they really feel. But we're not hearing from the Rotarians in Russia one way or another as to how they feel about this whole situation. So we're, like I say, trying desperately to establish contact with them, but it seems to be rather difficult at the moment.
Thank you. You also talked about working better together and continuity in the sessions that we've just had. The theme of continuity has come up there as well, but one of the other things too, alongside that continuity, was also a little concern that them up there, which I think is you now, them up there might not be happy about some of the things we're doing. Would you like just to give us a flavour of what them up there think about us changing our clubs?
Well, them up there are very enthusiastic about the way clubs are changing. I can assure you of that. And I'm disappointed that the people seem to be thinking that them up there are not happy about that. You know, as I have said, you know, I'm a great believer that Rotary should exist everywhere to suit everyone. Now, just as it's important that we have clubs who meet, let's say, on a Saturday morning for a bacon roll and coffee, it's also important that we have clubs, if it suits them, who meet at lunchtime on a Wednesday and do it that particular way. It's all a question of providing the opportunity for people to do Rotary in the way that they want to do it. But there's certainly no resistance either from myself or from Jennifer Jones, and we're working together closely. As I said, we speak at least once a week, and we're talking about all sorts of things. We're talking about growing clubs. We're talking about direct membership, things like what we're having. We have the global hub, of course. You have the global hub in home at Britain and Ireland, but the whole idea of finding ways to encourage people to be part of Rotary.
Thank you. So you're giving us permission, are you, that we can change and do things differently?
Chris, I have a wonderful maxim, and that is that it's easier to seek forgiveness than it is to seek permission.
Thank you. I thought that might come up. The other thing that I think we all warmed to was the fact that you felt that we could live in love and in peace. And one of the things that I'm going to just talk about for a minute here is that the MD PEDS that we had in Scotland and Ireland, we were very fortunate to speak to a Rotarian from Slovakia who is actually working on the front line, bringing people across from Ukraine. And that particular interview is available on YouTube, and it is also available on the things, and I'm sure on the RGBNI site. So I'm sure if we could get somebody from the tech team to put the link to that particular interview with Monica, that would be great.
No problem.
That would be, thanks very much, Phil. You talked too about not looking too much to the past, but by building back better. What would you like to see at the end of this year that we are doing that is actually reflecting that initiative?
Well, I did actually say building forward better rather than building back.
Yeah.
Building back better.
Yeah, you said don't say
don't say build back.
Yeah, my apologies.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just a play on words. But I mean, one of the things. This is a really significant time because we are now, I think we can safely say, beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel of the pandemic, and things we're beginning to have the opportunity to move forward in whatever way we want to move forward. And I think it's just so important that we learn the lessons of or learn what we have used over the last 2 years and bolt that on to what we were doing before. One of the things that frustrates me a little bit is when I hear people saying, oh, we just want to get back to doing things the way we used to do them. Now, of course, the way we used to do them was we used to sit and complain about the fact that we couldn't get members, the fact that we couldn't get decent food at the venues we were meeting in, and on and on and on we went. So why would we want to go back to that? What we want to do is learn. And I'm a great fan of the concept of hybrid meetings because I think that can allow clubs to be more open and allow people to be part of the club, even if they don't happen to be physically in the room. All these sorts of things that we've got to be more nimble. You know, we've got to be able to react to things. We reacted so quickly to this. We've learned so much over the last 2 years that we need to integrate into what we were doing before as well to create a better future. And that's why, and that is just a play on words, it's build back, build forward, say what you will, but just, you know, make sure that we learn the lessons that we've learned from the last 2 years.
Thank you so much, Gordon. As always, time is running out on us, but can I just add my personal thanks to the fact that you've got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to come and join us today, because I think that really does show service above self. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for your coming to join us today and the inspiration that you've given to us all. Thank you.
My pleasure. It really is a pleasure. Good to see you all. See you soon. Bye just now.
Okay,
bye.
Thank you, Gordon. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay. Well, that just remains to say thank you very much to Gordon. I think it's time for another break. So we're going to break now for 10 minutes. And when we come back, we'll be into the second half. And you'll be led by my good friend, Rick Canham from District 1200. So have a good break. And the timer will keep going so that you can watch it and you can be back with us on time. So thanks so much. Have a little break. See you soon.
Well, okay, thanks everybody for coming back and being on time. I hope you all feel a little refreshed and ready to go again. It's been quite an intense morning so far, a little bit more to do yet. Our next session is managing change. And I'd like to thank Gordon McInally for preparing the ground for me and also stealing my entire introduction. Change is happening. It is always happening. We need to be able to recognise change, understand why change is happening, learn how to use change to our best advantage, and control the level and speed of change. I know you're all going to find this section very useful. Please make sure you join in with the discussions. Your views are very important. I'd like now to hand over so we can go to our breakout rooms.
And welcome back for the final part of this morning's PEDS. This final topic is a really important one because it addresses a scenario, if you like, or several scenarios that we hope will never come around. And it's about addressing conflict within the club. Now, that could be as simple as an argument going on at a meeting, a heated discussion, but it can get quite serious when we get personality clashes both in and out of the club. And the consequences of such things can be extremely serious for the individuals or for the club as a whole. So it's really as well to consider the types of conflicts that you might come up against within the club, membership wise and otherwise, and also how to start thinking about dealing with them. So we're going to break out for another 40 minutes on addressing conflict, and the facilitators will have 2 or 3 scenarios that they might choose to take you through. Okay, so thank you very much, and see you again back in 40 for the close. Okay, well, welcome back, everybody, and hope you got something out of addressing conflicts and you didn't get into too many arguments about it. Okay, so can I call on Rick now then, please, just to do a quick summary of the morning, or the second half of the morning.
Well, thanks very much, Dennis. Yeah, it's been a tough morning. It's been a long morning. When we talked about managing change, there were some fascinating discussions, and it's clear we recognise change may be needed. But now you're a little better prepared to accept and drive change in whatever form it's needed. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your experiences. 2 years ago, we were forced into massive changes, and most clubs reacted well. Some didn't, but we all learned a huge lesson. Michael McQueen, a Rotarian author and social researcher, stated that Rotary went forward 20 years in just 2. Let's hope we're never faced with such monumental changes again. But if we are, we will know how to manage those changes. And then we went on to talk about conflict, probably the subject none of us want to get involved in, but we have no choice. I saw a lot of lively discussions and scenario, and it's clear everyone has concerns over conflict, as we all want a smooth passage. Of course we do. The fundamental thing to take from the session is that you can recognise conflict and have more confidence to deal with it. Sometimes conflict can actually be a good thing, because at least people care enough to speak up, and you can use conflict to learn about the views of your members and be guided accordingly. And of course, never ever forget that you're not on your own. You have a support network behind you. Your district governor, your assistant governor, your fellow presidents. They're all there for you. You're not on your own. Use us and enjoy your year. Thank you, Denis.
Well, thanks very much, Rick. Thank you. Okay, everyone. Well, that's it. That's the end of day 2. On Monday evening, we've got a panel of some senior Rotary specialists ready to take your questions. So we look forward to seeing you. We're reconvening at 1800 on Monday evening, but do come on board again at about 17:45 to see the promotional videos as we lead into that, and be ready for a prompt start at 1800. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, have a relaxing time, and see you Monday. Thank you very much.